Everybody, welcome to Lethal Sales. So glad you're all here. Tonight's topic is what is the most valuable thing you've ever learned, whether it was recently or early on, what changed your life, what changed your career, and please share with us. And I guess,
Why don't we go with Peter first?
okay, we're going to go with Peter first. Yeah.
Deflection. Yeah, I love it.
Thank you. I really appreciate that, everyone. I wasn't ready for it, but it, it's the. I guess there's two things I'd like to share. The first thing is in my career, against what Larry says, is I never told anybody I was in the car business. Never wanted to tell anybody I was in the car business. And the reason why I didn't do that is because the very first thing that happens in the car business, you get told a negative story. Oh man, you should have seen the what I went through for this or went through for that. And in doing so, it was okay, I understand and I'm sympathetic to it. I'm empathetic that you went through it. I learned all that. But really, what I learned from that was that if you do a great job and learn to understand what customers actually want and how they want to be treated, and if you can accomplish that and truly be customer centric, and it doesn't matter if you're selling cars, you're servicing cars, you're a vendor, you're an OEM, whatever it is. And if you become customer centric, one, you can now become proud of what you do. And regardless if you were proud before or proud after, you can really be proud about what you do. But the thing about that is, if you do it that way, you can organically grow your business without being a pest. And I'm going to say this. You 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 don't have to sit there at delivery and say, you know, I understand that you bought the car off me, you've gained trust. Who else can I serve as good as I just served you? The best time to ask for a referral is at the time when someone made that decision. But I learned if I brought that to the forefront and said, before I even converted the deal, and I said, hey, you know what? If I'm here to earn your business, not just this time, but every single time. And this is the way I make my living is through annuities. And the annuities is building up a client base. At that point, we are in a position where I'm going to help you out in a way that you will never stop raving about me. And that's probably the strongest thing I ever learned in the business was how to create a raving fan that you do not have to ask for referrals from, but you will get referrals on a consistent manner every single month. And that was my greatest thing I learned. And I think, Larry, you and I align on a lot of things here, and you would have to agree to me. Referrals are the most important thing in this business
Unquestionably.
because that's how you grow, and that's how I learned to be different and being the differentiator against 1,000 other salespeople out there competing for business, and you're completely different. People will flock to you.
Yes, sir.
So, on that note, off to you, Larry. What's the biggest thing you ever learned?
Hey, Rhonda, are we limiting this to the business, or are we
She didn't
making
say
this?
it. It's already out
Absolutely
there.
not.
It's being recorded. It didn't pertain necessarily to the business.
Yeah.
Okay, well then I'll tell you what. I'm going to throw a whole bunch at you. I mean, I missed the show for the Jewish holidays. A couple weeks ago, I missed Peter and Russell because they were, involved in a conference with a bad signal. My late mother who a man I miss all the time, was very big on the theater. She took me to see a play which you can now catch in movie form called 1776. It was, I mean, they made it a musical, but the dialogue was all sincere about what this country went through to try to become a country. You know, how they had to have a compromise between the pro and anti-slavery people, and just tie all the loose ends and the friction. And and I saw the struggle they went and how willing they were to pledge their lives, their estates, everything. And then at the very end, they kind of all came up to sign, and it replicated that famous picture we've all seen of the signing. And they dropped the curtain and backlit it, and it was the Declaration of Independence. And it kind of filled me with a sense of patriotism and gratitude to be in this country that's never really left. I read a lot of history, and I love it and I enjoy it. Um, as far as the car business, I just learned a whole bunch of things really quick. I've told the story before that I saw my GM get ready to leave, and the operator said, "You have a call, boss," and he said, "Tell him I left," which made me think he was completely out of his mind. I mean, if it's just somebody with a small problem, why wouldn't you solve it? If it's somebody who wanted to buy 3 cars, a lack of expedience might have cost you 3 deals. I think I learned pretty quickly, and this is kind of odd because I'm a musician and a little bit of a lunatic, but I don't do drugs, I don't smoke, I don't drink, I never have. But I did discover the greatest high is not crack, it's not heroin, it's not anything other than when they say yes to a salesperson. Astonishingly enough, it still feels great. I had a dealer call me today who wants to do business. Man, it felt like the first time somebody said yes on a car deal. It never gets old. Um, and I guess when I see people wasting their life or wasting their time or not giving a big effort, that always teaches me that I'm lucky. Mr. Hill always says that it's a pleasure, it's a privilege to do these things, that he gets to do these things, not that he has to. And I got to tell you, Russell, I admire you, but I also think you're lucky. And I know I'm lucky because to have that in you, that you like to do stuff, that it fills you with, it makes you feel good to do good things and do the right thing. Not everybody feels that way. And unfortunately, if they don't understand that virtue has to be its own reward because they've stopped giving out trophies for it, then I think you're lost. So I learned from a play. I learned from a general manager who wasn't paying attention. I learned from my customers. And I'll tell you what I'm pretty proud of. Dumb as I am, I'm still learning. I still try to pick something up new every day. So I'm
Good.
sorry
That
if
keeps
that
you
was,
young.
yep. I'm sorry if that was multi. Well, as far as keeping young, Russell, you'll love this. My old buddy has me recruiting and training at a Kia dealer next week. He's one of my best friends. Can't wait to see him. And I'm going to leave at a relatively early time on Monday to go play tennis with my crew. And then on Tuesday, I'm going to leave a little early because my band's playing. So within 48 hours, I'll have interviewed hopefully 30 or 40 people, have played some tennis, and played a show. Again, we're here for a short time. Let's turn the damn volume.
Good. Love it. Thank you
Turn it
for
up to
sharing.
11.
Yeah, why not? Oh, I think that puts you in Spinal
What's the
Tap
movie?
Company, right? Yeah,
What's the movie?
Spinal Tap. They had the amp set to 11. Peter, you might be able to catch me on a Volvo motor, but you're not going to
Okay.
catch me on any musical trip.
Okay, I'm going to throw a curveball at you. What car does the volume go up to 11?
What car does the volume go up to 11? You know what, Peter? You caught me. I don't know.
Tesla.
Tesla.
It's Elon Musk's favorite movie.
Okay. All right. I just learned. See, Russell, I just learned something from Peter.
It's the useless knowledge I store in this head of mine.
By the way, just a note on the human psyche. When I was a kid, I really enjoyed wrestling. I really enjoyed it. I grew up in an area of the country where it was very clean who was good and who was bad. The good guy was a guy named Bruno Sammartino, and the bad guys were the bad guys. But one of the interesting things about the psyche of professional wrestling is the worst bad guy, if he turned on another bad guy, became a good guy. Russell, I interviewed Ralph Nader I had a show and I had my Cadillac dealership, and I told him to his face, I admire you because when you put out unsafe at any speed, every conservative hated you because General Motors, it used to say, as General Motors went, so went the economy.
Yeah, he
And when you
did.
ran when you ran against Gore and Bush, a lot of people thought you cost Gore the election because you siphoned off votes, and every liberal hated you. How interesting is it that Elon Musk, who is beyond brilliant, who has done unbelievable things, was the hero of every liberal as soon as he came up with the electric car and these interesting concepts. And as soon as he endorsed a conservative, now he's the devil himself.
Yeah.
So it's interesting how our perceptions are our reality and how easily we can rationalize the strangest of rationalization. That's all. I'm feeling kind of philosophical.
Did you see his new AI humanoid
Robot?
robot?
Yeah.
I actually
Fucking,
I
I'm going to
actually
buy one. I'm just telling you right now.
I actually designed it. I finished up with Bill Gates, and Elon called me and he said, Larry, can you help me? And I said, no problem. I am known for my technical prowess. I have shown Peter Smith when he was in town my sundial and my abacus. And
Abacus.
So
Hmm.
on that note, I see Tony is in his car. So
Yes,
come on, Tony.
Hi,
let's go
Tony.
ahead. Tony.
Hey guys, hey Russell, just remember if you buy a robot, make sure you stash a little money away for reparations down the road, okay?
Oh,
There we
yeah.
go. Hey, Tone, can you turn your radio up to 11? Because Peter said Tesla's radios go up to 11.
Well, mine goes up to 50, and I still can't hear the damn thing when I'm playing Led Zeppelin. Absolutely. I'll tell you, there's lots of lessons in life, but about, oh gosh, almost 20 years ago now, my former wife and I were getting schooled on being foster parents at the time. And we went to 10 months of classes, 8 hours once a month. And about halfway through that, they had a professor from the UW-Wisconsin here in Madison, Dr. Enright. And Dr. Enright wrote a book on forgiveness. So we had 4 weeks of 8-hour training on forgiveness and going through his book and learning forgiveness. And, from that, I took away one major thing, and that was say, I'm sorry, and ask for forgiveness. And when you do that, the ball's in their court and you move on.
Yep.
And be sincere.
But didn't you already have that training from Jesus, who said, "Let he is without sin cast the first stone," and you have to take the plank out of your eye before you take the speck out of your neighbor's eye?
He absolutely said that. So you're right. But that one series was pretty powerful for me. If you
It
ever
just
get the
brought it
no,
home,
not-
didn't it?
I'm not knocking it down. It's just if it was
Yeah.
8 hours, me and Russell would have paid attention for 20, snuck out the back, and got pizza. I know Russell Hill by now.
So say you're sorry. So say you're sorry when you make a mistake, and mean it. Ask for forgiveness, and the ball's in their court.
I like that.
And let go and let God.
Hey, Jeff Scherer, what do you have to say, my buddy?
Well, I relate a lot of my reflection on what I learned in business, because not that I know it all as a father and a Christ follower and as a human and as a male, but two things kind of stick out. One thing, fresh breath is like an oral handshake. That's my motto.
I love it.
And the second thing, when you're talking to somebody on the phone about their trade-in, they said, small scratch. It's usually something that can be seen from space.
Yeah, they were hit by a train. No question about it. Hey, I'm just curious. We have a lot of brilliant car guys on the line. I understand the human brain can rationalize anything, right? We can always rationalize their behavior. I've never been that smart, and I could never understand the rationalization that your brand new car with a factory warranty that smells brand new is worth $10,000 below sticker, and a 12-year-old car with 146,000 miles that was hit by a train, fell into the water, and was chewed by an alligator is worth what you originally paid for. Can anybody explain
Flying the
that to me? 'Cause
man.
that one's always been
And if it's a pickup truck, you got a much better angle.
Have you ever appraised a car and the customer, as you're appraising it, it's got a big scratch in it, and they look at you and you say, "Well, that was there when I bought it."
no. I got a better one. I walked out to a car with my used car manager who was always trying to steal the trades. And I said, listen, do me a favor this one time, be a decent human being and appraise the car for what it's worth. Look how clean this is. Jeff, I swear to God, this is true. And I opened the door and the door fell off.
Nice.
I very quickly reversed field.
That was, you got to
reminds
admit,
me.
Larry, that was in Jersey.
It was. And that was a fat piece for Jersey.
Brings back memories of Tommy Boy.
Yeah.
That Dart.
Yeah, but
Started out-
Second time today I've heard that.
understand this. Tommy Boy was a parody and it was a movie. Anybody that's been in the car business for more than 3 weeks has 100 fantastical stories because the stuff that happens never happens anywhere else. The amount of insanity, they accuse us of not being honest. It's just nuts. What they tell us about themselves, their credit, their trade, man, they'd probably be great defense lawyers for murderers, you know?
So
Well,
Chris
it's
Farley's
the
dad
emotional
used
attachment.
to buy Cadillacs from us back in
love it.
the late '90s. Chris Farley's dad used to come in. Chris would come in. That
That's
guy was
awesome.
absolutely nuts. He was absolutely nuts. Well, he's from Wisconsin, but just unbelievable amount of energy for a guy his size. And I would bust a gut just, him just ad hoc. He was one of the funniest guys I've ever met.
He was, but unfortunately, the second in a line of brilliant portly comedians that decided that drugs was a better choice than enjoying their lives. I mean, how much funnier can you be than him and Belushi? You looked at those guys and you started laughing.
Oh, Belushi, and then the other side, John Candy. But it
I
wasn't
don't think
drugs
Candy
that
was a
killed
drug
Candy.
user. It was just a health issue. Yeah, who doesn't
Yep.
like John Candy?
Yeah.
Wendy apparently unmuted and she's back. Are you back, Wendy? Are you with us?
Audio issues.
Okay.
I'm with
Wait.
you. It's kind of in and out, and my
No.
voice is-
Go ahead. We can hear you speak. What
Okay.
what was the biggest impact
Oh gosh.
in your life, other than the fact that your mother took you to see Santa Claus and you wound up marrying?
I know, right? So I'm a little under the weather today, so I'm not real as boisterous as I normally am, which is probably a good thing. But anyway, so honestly, I think there's so many things, but I have to say probably about 14 years ago when I went independent with my business, without doing, the history of Wendy, I was a super smart kid. They kept moving me through classrooms and in grade school. Fancy that. I actually have a brain. The human side has a brain. But I was also the shy little kid with the frizzy hair when everybody else had long straight hair. So I got bullied a lot as well. So anyway, I did all the way up through high school. I think I did what was expected of me all the time. And we do that today, many of us. We still are so worried about what other people think and about fitting in the boxes that others create for us, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So it started in 2012 when we dissolved the BDC at Amato, where I'd been on and off, and I stayed strictly with that dealer for so long, right? Honestly, toward the end, I think I'd become really complacent, and I had a GM that was taking my ideas, and because I was the BDM, and anyway, so that got me going to different groups in the Milwaukee area. Tony, I probably did 3 or 4 of them that had a failing, usually a Nissan store or Mazda store, even then. 12 years ago, and I'd fix the store, and then they'd be, okay, well, we're going to kick it back up to corporate now, but you can stay on as an agent. So I kept, trying like a regular rooftop fit. And I think I finally realized that as good as I was, people wanted me and they knew me already then for my ability to turn around failing departments or to improve infrastructures for existing departments that were just so, right?
Hey, Wendy,
So
let me explain for everybody, do the Wendy translation. When Wendy went into these buildings and these businesses, she was like Visine. She got the irritation out of the eye. They could see clearly and their focus came back. When
exactly.
corporate got in, they took a screwdriver and stuck it in their own eye. I just wanted to add that.
Yeah, yeah. So
Hmm.
anyway, short story, I mean, to kind of land the plane, that's what made me realize then that I did have a gift, that I didn't have to be under my GM's thumb and I could use creative flow. And then I had another fit, which was a very good fit. But believe it or not, I've had issues with women of authority working for someone else. Imagine that.
Shocking.
So because I'm so strong, other women and probably men too, they think you're going after their job or something. Like they can't just, they didn't know because I was outspoken then, because I was tired of being defensive. That's what I learned. I didn't have to defend my action. I had to embrace my gifts and use my voice. That was my pivotal moment. And it actually took me from 12 to probably 18. And even when I went in for a stint with a large company for a few months 3 years ago, it's just a battle of things. If your creativity is um, thwarted, or if conditions or limitations are being put upon the amount of creative juices you get to use, and you're just exploding with them, and you love collaboration and new things and being progressive and everything else, I guess I realized you got to be true to you, like I've been preaching to my kids all their life, and you have to march to the beat of your own drummer, and everyone else be damned. And you have to, once you realize what your gifts are, it's our duty and our responsibility and our legacy to share them. So that's who I am today.
Hey, Wendy, I'm going to quote my late father. He always said to me, God bless those that wish me well, and all the rest can go to hell. Absolutely my feeling. If you're on my side, I'll cut off my arm for you. If you're not on my side, gosh, I didn't realize when you were in front of me when I ran you over 4 times. But that's
Bye,
just me.
Felicia. Yep.
Jason Reed, are you still with us, my brother?
I am.
Jason, you're everybody likes you on the program. You're respected. Um, you've like everybody else on this planet. You've had some trials and travails and tribulations. What turned you? What was the point where you went, I get it now?
I will say, and this is going to be a plug for Peter's show tomorrow, but Mina, who pushed and met with me something about 15 years ago, actually longer than that, into going into a Tony Robbins seminar. And, I bought into it. And the only reason why I did it is because the dealership I was working with at the time allowed us to take it out of our paychecks. I left that dealership a little later on and was still allowed and granted to go to the Tony Robbins event with my new store. That was Mercedes-Benz in Orange Park, Florida. Now, going to that event, I was a different human being. Coming out of that event, I learned, don't be afraid. Don't let fear hold you back. You could be afraid of telling somebody you love something bad. You could be afraid of applying for that job. You could be afraid of talking to your manager. You could be afraid of anything. Don't let fear hold you back, because fear holding you back, you will never move forward. And from that weekend on at that event, I came home and I advised my fiance at the time of several things. We were no longer together. 6 months later, I ended up meeting my wife, who's now together. We've been together for 13 years. I have two beautiful daughters now. I have moved from a couple of different places, and I am a sales manager of a Mercedes-Benz dealership, all because I was willing to put myself out there. I was willing to do those things and take some risks, and I still do. And people don't understand that the risk taking.
They don't
it's not
understand.
a drug. It's not a gamble. It's not. Yeah, I mean, it is a gamble, but you know what? If you don't take the chances, if you don't put a little bit more money in that trade, if you don't go buy that car, if you don't do, that one last close or whatever it would be, you don't know what's going to come out of it. You have no idea. And holding yourself back with this sense of being scared, you're never going to get anywhere.
It's
So
the
I try my
Shakespeare
best.
quote, Jason. It is better to have loved and lost than never to have loved at all. The biggest mistake
Exactly.
you can make is not taking the shots. Not we usually don't regret what we did unless we do something horrendous. We regret what we didn't do. It seems like a whole lot of people don't realize that life is finite and that you gotta take some risks and change some rules and break the bonds.
Exactly. I mean, you mentioned
The reason you're hearing Jason cut out is Tony Robbins eventually married his fiance. It didn't go well, and now Tony's been following him and cutting off his audio. I'm sorry, Jason. Could be
Thank
worse.
you, boss.
You could have done that with Grant Cardone, and he would have sold your condo for too cheap. All right, while we wait for Jason to come back, either Mr. Hill or Mr. Larkin, we would love to hear the turning point and what you learned and when and how. Wait a minute, Jason, are you back, my brother?
Yeah. But the only thing I want to say is you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. It
Right.
is very simple. You take the
And
shots,
and it's
or
not
you don't.
even
You
though
don't
they
go
even
for
though
it.
they give it to Michael Jordan, so we make Peter happy. It's actually a Wayne Gretzky quote.
Yes. Absolutely. Wayne Gretzky, the great one. Think about if you want to talk sports athletes for 1 second. If you take away all Wayne Gretzky's goals that he scored, and he's the leading goal scorer in the NHL of all time, if you took away all his goals, he'd still have more points than any other player to play the game.
It was his vision, right? His thing was he was always heading towards where it was and passing to where it was. And here's the interesting thing about it. Hockey's a rough, tough sport. Okay. This was not a big guy. This was a slight guy, but his intellect, his concept of the game. I always talk about Magic Johnson and Larry Bird. They saved the NBA. Neither one of them were even the best athlete on their own team, but between their ears, they were magic. Excuse me if you're a Bird fan, but you know what I mean.
Yeah,
Mr. Larkin, Mr. Hill deferred to you. We hate to leave you for last. So what do you have to say? And then we'll hear what Mr. Hill has to say.
Mr. Hill, I'm proud to go ahead of you because I always go behind you, and I can't go behind you, man. You're the best.
You are awesome, man.
So there's a couple of things as you guys were talking. My dad was my hero of my life, but I've got my heroes here in my life. But he always used to say, "You can be as successful as you ever wanted to be in this one life of yours, but you can't do it alone." And that kind of resonated with me. And he said it on in the hospital when he was, on his last days. He also said, you got the easy part done talking about it, kid. What are you going to do about it? And I'm in these clubhouse rooms every day and I hear a bunch of talk, but at the end of the day, what's being done? Because I hear
Mike,
the sense,
Mike,
I love the path you're on. Go ahead.
Yeah. Wait, Mike, let me just interject one thing. Just a question. I'm not on I'm really busy, thank God. And I'm not on Clubhouse a lot. Okay. But is everybody as tired as I am of somebody saying, all right, I want to wrap this up. And then they go on for another 11 minutes. We need like a big, one of them hooks to yank them off stage. I'm sorry, Mike. You just made me think of that. Go ahead, my brother.
Yeah, I always remember the hook. Get them off stage, the hook would come out and yank you on stage. One of my greatest mentors, he said this week in our training, he goes, change your language and change your business.
Amen.
So I was like, wow, okay. And where are you going with this? And he goes, well, when you say what you're going to go, what you do, hey, what do you do? People are going to try and pigeonhole you. I'm a fireman. Oh, you fight fires. I'm a policeman. Okay, you fight crime. You try and pigeonhole you in the best way they can. But the interesting people are, hey, what do you do? And so he put it in very, very short language for me. We're getting into some AI stuff, and we can't relate it to the old stuff. In other words, AI keyword tool. Oh, you do keywords? Oh, okay. We're a market growth opposition research, right? That's the tool. Well, what's that? Okay, there we're on a different mind path instead of, oh, I pigeonhole you here. You do keyword research. Okay, that's nice. I know what that is. I don't need you. So those are the things I'm learning, and I'm learning how to kind of educate people on that and show people, hey, it's a brave new world, and things aren't like they were even 3 weeks ago. Things
Exactly.
are changing every week.
So I'm gonna add something to that for you, Mike. In understanding, and Russell said it, and Wendy said it, and most of us that are involved with anything that falls into that category, what was yesterday is no longer tomorrow. So it's changing that fast. You could literally have a cutting edge platform, but 2 days later, someone else comes out with something completely different that makes yours redundant. And
happening every day.
And it's happening every day, and we're seeing it every day as people learn. They learn more and more and more. And today on our call, and one of the things that was discussed, and I'm just going back to my notes, is it's all about the education of what's happening out there. And they used to say ignorance is bliss, because you can actually remain complacent if you follow ignorance. Well, in today's world, ignorance is not bliss. Ignorance is stress. And if we can learn, as we say, the greatest thing that we got going for us is the ability to become students of the business. And these are reasons why we have these rooms, why we have human side of AI, why we have what the fix ops, why we have lethal sales, why we have automotive innovators and disruptors, why we have all things car biz, all things used cars, all things fixed ops, and why we have dealership masterclass. It's about learning, and that's probably the biggest thing on this call right now is, do we have the greatest thing that I have learned, do we have the capacity to learn? And the answer is absolutely 100% yes. We have that capacity to learn. And I'm gonna land the plane with one statement. Getting 1% better every day is not 365% at the end of the year. It's 3,774% at the end of the year, because it compounds. Our growth can be enormous if we allow that ability to learn things into our lives. And all we need is one thing. Every one thing that we learn is going to affect how we move forward. So,
what percentage was that again, Peter?
So 1%.
You did the math.
1% is 3,774%.
You hear that, Russell? For the room that we're in the mornings on Tuesdays and Thursdays, I'm going to bring this up.
Yeah. So think about that. It's in Russell. We'll go to this. The penny doubled. You're muted, Russell. So the penny.
I was gonna throw that out there. If I gave you $1 million today, or a penny that doubles every day for 31 days, which would you take? It's staggering compounding. Staggering.
Exactly.
$737,000.
And it's
penny.
People don't realize the effect of compounding.
No, they don't.
And you can look at your bookcase behind you, Russell. you have books upon books upon books. That's compounding learning. I have on my desk right now, I have probably 18 books.
Yeah,
Minus one,
that's
because
not
one
counting.
doesn't count.
That's not counting the ones on my desk that I
Yeah.
reference every day.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So we all look at it, and one of the things I said to my teams that I ever led, I said, I want you to come into the office half an hour early every day. In that half an hour, I want you to go on the internet, pick something obscure that you have no knowledge on, and type it into Google and start learning about it. And you'll never know when that will come across. I worked at a Volvo dealership, and this guy came in, and he the first words out of his mouth, and again, this is strange, is a Volvo dealership. You don't go into a Volvo dealership to look around. You pick a BMW dealership, a Mercedes dealership, or something like that. You don't come to Volvo. This guy comes into the dealership and says, I'm just killing some time. I got a couple hours between flights. I said, oh, are you on a layover? He goes, kinda. I said, oh, what is it? Like, where are you flying to? And he goes, well, I can't reveal that. I said, oh, so you're a pilot? And he said, yes. And I said, he says, I'm a helicopter pilot. And I said, oh, okay, that's quite unique. And I know the airports are behind me, and from the dealership. And I said, so that means if I'm correct, you fly a black helicopter.
Hmm.
And he went, how'd you know? And I said, because that's pretty much the only helicopter that flies out of that airport. And I said, and I know what it is. It's a Sikorsky S-71 helicopter. He goes, wow. And I said, and I actually know who your passenger is. And this passenger was Michael Lee Chin, who is one of the wealthiest guys in Canada. Well, he flies his helicopter from the airport to his house and to Niagara for wine country. But the understanding that I could create a conversation because I knew about helicopters. Understanding you can create a conversation because you might know about poker, or you might know about fine wines or restaurants or cooking or travel or anything out there. It's the ability to build that rapport that is so important to create that trust factor that we fight so hard against in this business. So by all means, expand your knowledge each and every day. Block 30 minutes and look for something you don't know. Not something you enjoy, something that you don't know about.
Hey, Peter, before we jump to Russell, because we keep introing him, let's hear from Fred Thorn. I mean, Fred's got a fabulous attitude in life. What was Fred? What was your turning point? What was the thing, the aha moment that pushed you in a direction that you're in or you were in?
And you cannot say Santa Claus.
Get the video.
So how about it doesn't snow in December in Scottsdale?
Here, crap. There's video, finally. Okay, what was that about Scottsdale? Would you
It doesn't
ask
snow in
Peter?
Scottsdale.
It does.
It
Very
does.
little. Very little. Flakes
That's
on the
a
ground and
horrible
stuff.
place for Santa Claus to be.
Yeah, no kidding. When I first moved down here back in 1978, I was 19 years old. Come from Michigan, where we have a lot of snow. Come down here, and they wrapped the Christmas lights around the swirl cactus. What the heck? And it took a little while, a couple years to get used to it, kind of, without snow. But the weather is great, the wintertime. Like I was just looking, it's gonna be like 99 up till like next Tuesday, and it drops down to 75. Yes, but
That's awesome.
what was the question?
What have you
Question
learned
is,
in
what
life?
was your aha moment? What point in your life did you take a turn towards God, sobriety, Wendy, anything you can think of where you felt there was a change. The old Robert Frost thing, you came upon two paths in the woods and took the one less traveled.
You know, I remember picking myself off the floor and going, aha, I shouldn't have said that. What was that, Wendy, I said? Anyway.
Is that this morning?
Yeah. Oh, you can tell? Nah. Like I did a video, we had to take Wendy to the dermatologist today for checking for, skin cancer and that precancerous spot.
Fred, you're deflecting. That's not your aha moment, brother.
What's your aha moment, Fred? What was the turning point
We
in your
got to
life
get you
where
back
you're
on
like,
track, brother. You're taking us around the block.
Yeah, sorry.
You've been hanging around me too much, dude.
I know.
Land the plane, baby.
Well, not, I don't know. Having kids, grandkids, as part of my profession, so I'm not like you guys. I was a carpenter all my life, building houses. And I remember when I first got here at 19, started back into that there, framing down here like a laborer, and worked for like a year and a half. I was like 21, I guess, and a foreman didn't show up to work. He was drunk, something. And so my boss come to the crew I was on, asked my foreman if he thought I could run a crew. I said, yeah, I think he could. And he asked me, and I remember saying, what? Me? I was just a kid. And so he put me on a crew. I said, I can lay out, some of the house. I've never laid out a whole house, And he said, I'm sorry, I'll show you. And he asked me end of the day how to go. I said, well, I was 21, and I was the youngest on the crew. And he asked me how it went. I said, well, we got this done, this. He said, I'm not worried about that. How to go with the guys. I said, well, it just seemed kind of funny telling these guys what to do, when I was so much younger than them. And he said, I started my company when I was 24. I had guys my dad's age working on my crew. And that's your job. I said, okay. All right, you maggots, get to work. I never was a holler screamer. Never was.
Did we just have Santa Claus call people maggots?
Yeah,
Russell,
I heard it, man.
I'm not sure how this show got off the rails.
No,
I think
okay.
it started with your sockwear, but I don't know.
I think it was MAGA.
In construction, the language is awful.
I can imagine.
I don't swear.
And he led teams and was the main foreman ever since. I've seen him with who was it? Your grandson put up a what do you call that that driveway, that garage thing, that drive through?
Yeah,
carport.
Carport in like 3 weekends, Russell. Like
it was a garage.
Yeah, garage. So
Russ, listen, the lesson that we can learn from a guy like Fred Thorn is the reason Fred is so well liked, in my humble opinion, is everything he does is perceived as just because he thinks it's the right thing. You never perceive his ego coming through or him being duplicitous. And if you think about how many people we run into, Wendy, you talked about it. How many people are so involved with their own ego, people that would rather see everything else fail just so they can look good. So it wouldn't surprise me, young or old, that you could lead people, Fred, because I never heard anybody accuse you of being inauthentic or not being a good guy. And in today's scarred world, that's pretty strong. That's a pretty strong message.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, we appreciate you, Russell.
Yes, we do.
We've heard Fred say maggots. We had Peter talk about the conversion of improving 1% a day. I have Mike Larkin checking to see if that's a Canadian exchange or a real number. And now it's up to you, Russell.
Well, man, extremely valuable stuff I heard from everybody. I particularly want to make note of Jason Reed and what he talked about. And I connected with everybody, but I really connected tonight with him in a particular way because I had a defining moment in my life where there's two important dates: the day I was born and the day I figured out why. And when I did, that's when I grew up. In that one day, I had a very profound, burning bush, spiritual, God experience, whatever you want to call it. And I realized for the first time in my life, whether I'm in a crowd or by myself, I'm not alone anymore. And it's okay to ask for help. And there's a lot more to it, but that's the short end of it. And that sent me, for the first time in my life, I accepted responsibility for everything that had happened and who I was. And that if something was going to change, I had to be the one to change it. And fast forward just a little bit, I met this guy. Some of you have heard this before. And what Mike said or what Peter said, some of the stuff I hear in the rooms in the morning, I just want to grab people by the neck because they're talking about the same freaking, hello, Rhonda. They're talking about the same stuff over and over and over again. And we're I can really connect it. Well, with all of you, Jason, is that the most dangerous place for me to be is in my comfort zone. Okay. I have to be out on the ledge, man. I got to be experiencing life. And I met this guy, like a Tony Robbins and all the one and that I've seen and listened to. I've been to so many of them and I get excited. I take notes. I'm just pumped up, fired up. And then I walk away from the next day. Guess what I do? Freaking nothing. Nothing. Okay. This time was different and I knew it. I had to make some significant changes. So I reached out for help. And I told you about that mentor of mine, multi-millionaire, extreme. I wanted to see if the inside matched the outside of what I saw. And it did. And he was willing to work with me as long as I took his suggestions. And he said, Russell, are you willing to do the things that other people are not willing to do so you can have and become the things that most people will never have and never become? I didn't understand the comfort zone. I didn't really understand that. I just knew I wanted something different in my life and I was hungry. And I was willing to do whatever it took, whatever it took. And he explained to me, and you've probably heard this before, that future behavior is human behavior is so predictable. You see what people did the last 30 days, and unless they do 3 things different today, the next 30 days are going to look exactly the same. And that's where I honed in with what Jason was talking about, because he went in and made some changes and he got after it and realized that life was at the edge of his comfort zone. It's about taking risk and making mistakes and getting back up, being responsible for them, making amends or whatever you got to do and move on down the road and keep moving and quit listening to people say, you can't do that. I tried that. That won't work. And I interrupted those people in my life. I don't listen to them anymore. But what I realized was that if you want a different tomorrow, it's only what you read, what you listen to, and who you associate with. That's it. If you don't input new, you're going to get the same crap out tomorrow. And you can't wait till tomorrow because we know people keep doing the same thing, expecting different results, right? That's sanity. How is that unlock things? And this is what my mentor taught me. First thing he did is he gave me a book called How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. And he wanted me to read 15 minutes a day. I didn't understand it at the time. I understood reading, and my first response, yeah, I can do that. Yeah, no problem. No problem, Roger, I can do that. He said, no. Listen to me. I'm not talking 15 and a half, 14 and a half. I'm not talking finish the page or the sentence, stop at 15 minutes. He said, if you'll do that and take the suggestions that as we work together until you don't, and I won't work with you anymore, if you take those suggestions, I promise you within 1 year, your life will transform. It wasn't even a year, it was 6 months. It set me on an insatiable quest to read and learn and try new things like Peter, you were referring to, and Mike, you were referring to, and certainly the stuff that I've heard all of you referred to. But today, I don't know what it was, Jason hit me because he got it. And I hear people say they got it and they don't got jack diddly. Okay. They're the same place a year from now. I've listened to them every single morning. I don't discount them. I love them where they're at because I was that way. I got it. And maybe they'll get it too. Unfortunately, 95% of the population get their information from the same 95% of the population that has what they have or less than what they have, and they wonder why they don't have anymore. That's what Jason stirred up in me this morning. That defining moment of what he did when he left and he went back to his fiance, and then he met his future wife, and they've been together 13 years. and being out on the ledge, because there's nothing wrong with being comfortable. I'm not talking about being comfortable. I'm talking about if you want something and you understand whatever it is that you want, whatever success is to you, which is a progressive realization of some worthwhile dream, whatever it is, it involves other people, but you got to get after it. And if you want it, it's up to you. But what are you willing to do? Because if I'm the same person I was yesterday, I'm going to be the same person I am tomorrow, because I am, like all of us. And you've heard me, I'm a sum total in this moment of everything I've ever seen, heard, read, and done. And it will not change unless I change it. And I can only do that if I have new information to get something new out. Does that make sense? So the people and I love them, but I'm just on a soapbox right now. People regurgitate this. They don't do anything about it. Don't do something. Take charge of your life. Well, it's so-and-so did this. Those people are irresponsible and immature. It is my fault. I have to accept responsibility. Everything that I have in my life is because of the choices that I made, and I am responsible today. And I'm going to be responsible tomorrow because I'm going to do something different tomorrow. I'm going to read. I'm going to read. I'm going to listen to people like you and show up to these meetings. That's what I'm going to do. And I'm going to help as many people along the way. And the ones that don't want it, that's okay. I love you, man. I wish you all the best. But I can't look in that rearview mirror. I got to keep trudging and moving forward. That's what I got to do. And Jason, you lit me up this morning. I don't even really know you, but I know you. I know you now more than I've ever known you before.
You're putting on a sermon by the way, man. My goodness, God, man, where's the plate to give some contributions to the church?
There we go. By the way, we've now tied ourselves even tighter, Russell, because your quote you started off with is I quote it every class. It's Mark Twain. The two most important days of your life are the day you're born and the day you figure out why.
I'm telling you, the secret is just I got to stop there. And I want to say this sometimes in the morning. I don't know why. I do know why. That's a cop out. I know it. I know why I do everything that I do. I'm just choose not to really share it. Sometimes I just don't. People. I don't even talk about my company that much unless somebody specifically asks me about it and they want to hear about it, because somebody's going to shut me down. This isn't a pitch zone or whatever the case may be. So I just get along and I listen and I pick up nuggets every single morning from some people. And then other people, I just listen and grit my teeth and I love you, man. One of these days you're going to get it. One of these days you're going to get it. But I'll tell you what, you bet when I know people got it, when I'm talking to them and they accept full responsibility for where they're at right now, and then they cease fighting everybody and everything. Those are people that are mature. Those are people that understand that who you associate with is important. What you say, what Mike said, words are so freaking powerful. What you think is one thing. When you say it and you do something, there's consequences and you can't take them back. You released it. It's out there. And you're done, and you're gonna suffer the consequences. And if you do, that's okay. It's just a choice, something you did, and you learn from it and move on. And that's what I keep doing. I make so many mistakes. Jason, I love you, man.
Can I say something really quick?
I think the most important thing about that is act upon what you think, act upon what you feel. Everybody can sit here and say, oh, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to do something else. But if you don't take action, if you don't do what you say, Jason, you end up causing yourself more mental anguish.
Jason, Wendy wanted to say something. Yes, I just wanted to throw in make a decision is to make a decision.
Correct.
I was just going to really simply say something to Russell. Right on.
Oh, right on. Yeah, I love it.
Hey guys, we're over our time. We, as always, we love you, we respect you, we appreciate you. We'll see you next week. We got lots of interesting shows. We're trying to get away from the strict format of what's the transmission in the car, and we'll keep it lively and keep it upbeat. Look forward to seeing you guys soon, I hope.
Got one thing to say. If no one told you they loved you and they appreciated you, I just did. And thank you all for showing up for me tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
See you guys next Wednesday.
And just
Peter's program tomorrow.
One thing.
Go ahead, Wendy.
Where's the hook?
No, I was holding the fort for you, so you
Okay.
could blast about tomorrow.
No worries. So tomorrow, in light of the Halloween being on Thursday, we moved our women in automotive call up 1 week. And we are having a very special guest, Mina Shaw from Mina Meetings, formerly with the Robbins Corporation. She will be acting as the host for the show and interviewing Tracy Fields of Premier Automotive Group, Katie Lamphere of VinQ, and Kelly Saunders of Kelly Sells Cars. It's going to be an amazing show tomorrow night. So please join us on Clubhouse. Thank you.
I'm excited.
Night, everybody.
Good night,
Everybody stay
everybody.
healthy.
Good
Thank
night, guys.